And I know that I'm being given lots of aggro now, but maybe that is also an affirmation that I've taken the right step.
Who's our audience? Are we saying anything of interest? Do we have anything to say?
The university opened a door for me. I actually went through it, and it gave me opportunities I never thought I'd have. So, Garvin, we've reached the milestone of episode 24, I believe this one now is.
I didn't know that.
Episode 24. So we never actually thought we'd get this far. We've been plodding away and just sort of seeing where things go. I know that every time we've done this, even when I've gone off and planned something, we don't necessarily do the material that I think we're going to do. And the more and more I realize that it's the same as teaching in the classroom. Quite often, the more you prepare, the less you actually use that stuff that you prepared.
That's because you have that petulant child in the room, that unpredictable universal factor of a Garvin sitting in the class and upsetting the plans, upsetting the project, upsetting this is the structure I'm going to apply. That's what you think you're going to do. That's what you planned for. But I'm sitting there in the room going, oh, no, I'm not happy. I want it to be all about me. I want to ask a question about something totally irrelevant that I've just come up with. But no, never mind that for a moment. We're going back to what you were saying there. We're at episode 24. If I had thought of it, I wouldn't have realised it. Actually, I don't believe it, because what's happening in the background is we're actually on episode 4 today of release. And we're going back in time to this insecurity of what we're putting out versus where we think we are.
And let's just clarify where that is. For those of us where we are today, it is the 26th of June. But when people will get a chance to listen to this episode, it may actually be the beginning of September. Mm-hmm. So that's just to clarify. So episode 4 has just gone out on the 26th of June. And we've been madly trying to discover how to promote and market the whole thing.
And that's what's happening. We've got a split personality of marketing versus production. And even marketing production versus production of the show. So we're 24 in and going, we're trying to get a rhythm of this process of are we happy with the quality? Literally 5 minutes ago we were testing sound and trying to get rid of a fuzzy noise, and so we're getting a little bit better of a rhythm of production. But now we're not even going to say what quality of content is. We're going, quality of sound is one thing, quality of vision is one thing, but are we saying anything of worth? So we're constantly questioning ourselves. Do we have value? Will anyone listen? Does anyone love us? Does this type of thing? But we're looking at the outside world through this other vision of week 2 and episode 4 in the same timeline of what the social media audience is currently consuming. And I'm having my come to Jesus moments of questioning, going, well, we've 8 subscribers and 4 views, and God help us, does anybody out there love us? I'm giving up. I'm going, now I've just flipped my personality and go, no, that's week 2, episode 4 of social media production, and nobody loves us. And that what we're saying then is not what we're saying now. And what we're trying to find now in terms of advice is, who's our audience? Are we saying anything of interest? Do we have anything to say? Who would resonate with this?
I think quite often, I know you're the one that's sort of saying, was that of any good? Was that not of any good? But I know, mainly because I suppose I've been teaching and lecturing and doing all that, I actually do a lot of assessment. I actually assess as I go along. I'm normally assessing what people are actually saying and the depth of knowledge that they're actually talking about. And one of the episodes that we did very early on, I kind of went, oh my goodness, this is interesting, because there's Taoism, there's all these different philosophies coming from you, and you weren't necessarily aware of it. And when we finished, you said, I can't remember what we've actually talked about. And I did some research based on what you'd said during that episode, and realized it matched up exactly as though you were doing a textbook. It wasn't a textbook. It was you just talking about the things that you were interested in, but you were passionate about what you were talking about, and that knowledge base that you didn't realize you had was flowing out and coming from you.
That's that other language of we're going somewhere back in the archives or the subconscious. We had interests or opinions, and it might have been a mixture of Doctor Who and Star Trek and something else that formed my basis of understanding where I was in the universe, or where I think I am. And an interesting episode there, not a little bit while back, was I was listening to Ancient Aliens on the TV, and what looks like a UFO flies by my window, and it sets me off on another one of the War of the Worlds episodes of here I am trying to worry about where I am in the world. And it could be, I said, it could be the end of the world is nigh. It could be due, and they're having a little swing by to see whether they're going to save me or not. And I don't know why they would even be thinking of Thomastown. But what's strange is what we're saying this episode might be about is it's episode 24. It's a come to Jesus moment. It's going, are we okay? Are we on the right track? Are we happy with what we're doing? Do we need to change direction? Do we need to go deeper, wider, or something else? What feedback are we getting from the few people out there that know we exist and have listened to a little bit of something? But they may not even be our audience. My own daughter said, what's that shite you were talking about? This is episode 1. And she says, there's something about a bear. I don't know what he's doing. My friends wouldn't like that. I've had enough of it, I'm out of here. And I'm going, all right, I'm giving up. My daughter won't even listen to episode 1.
And I think that's something that's quite important, because you're talking about the come to Jesus moment kind of thing. One of the things is that when you step out in faith and go on a certain journey and you put all your effort and energy into it, there are the other side of the universe that comes along and tries to trip you up. And they do it in such a way to try and demoralize you so much that you feel that you can't go on. And what you have to do is you have to ignore that side. You have to just say, they're just trying to trip me up. They're trying to sabotage me. I took, based on all the bits and pieces that were coming to me just before I made that choice, I felt confident that that was the best road to go. And I've now taken the first step. And I know that I'm being given lots of aggro now, but maybe that is also an affirmation that I've taken the right step, because I am now getting all that aggro. In fact, if you look at the YouTube, the early videos, they say, if you've got a cause, if you've got a passion you want, be prepared from the moment that you actually allow your voice to go out, to recognize that you will have an onslaught of other people that are trying to go against you, and just build up those defenses yourself, those inner defenses against it. Put on the armor, put on the helmet.
We haven't even been lucky enough, because that means they'd have to be there looking, commenting and giving out. We haven't even found them yet. We're looking forward to actually getting that bunch to start giving out and criticizing, because it means we have a fucking audience. And I mean, we haven't even got that audience yet.
I think you have to remember.
I'm looking forward to that audience.
Yeah, I think you have to remember the Field of Dreams and the little girl at the end. And it was a little girl at the end said to her dad, build it and they will come. And everybody thought she was talking nonsense. It's complete and absolute codswallop. But the moment in that particular story the little girl was saved, the very person that was so adamant that they were talking nonsense suddenly can see and went, oh my God, I couldn't see this before. And that's the thing. Their veil has to be lifted so that they can see where it is we're going. We actually don't need to worry about the audience. The audience will actually discover us and find us.
Yeah, you're using a nice language there of lift the veil. And I think I've used something like that before, and I'm also talking about the fog. And the fog, we have a fog in front of us, but it's starting to clear a little bit. And what we're actually finding in our affirmations and our where are we at 24, we're saying, well, we're joining dots. We just 10 minutes ago we said we were on 2-3 podcast platforms, and there's 4 episodes released, and it doesn't matter how many downloads or anything. We're just going, we weren't there 2 weeks ago. We did not have a podcast show. We didn't know how to plug in Spotify. We didn't know what the actual admin around it was. And so what it's actually, if we step back and go, we can officially say we exist in podcast space. We have a podcast show. Admittedly, we have no customers. That's absolutely irrelevant for the minute, because we couldn't ever get them if we didn't have a show. We now have a show we're in a position whereby we might be able to get customers. So that's now there. We have 24 episodes in the can. We have iTunes and Spotify to go. We have a platform. We have a mechanism now
I think we need to. Yeah, I think we need to stop thinking of customers. I think we need to start thinking of listeners and viewers on the YouTube channel. I think what we need to do, because a customer, we're assuming they're going to pay for something, and there's a whole.
That was just my accidental accountancy language. You know that the audience that doesn't know who we are.
The audience doesn't know that.
Garvin
but the interesting thing is
customer. I mean exactly what you mean, George.
But we've been
audience.
We have been conditioned to think in those terms, because every time you set up a business, everybody is told to say, look, who's your client, who's your customer, who's this, who's that, and even patients are now seen as clients in hospital and in nursing homes and like stuff. Our client says, you kind of go, hang on a second. Let's move away from that kind of language and get back to this idea of the listener. It becomes more personal. It's not just because the customer is just seen as a number, whereas the listener is the other person just on the other side of the screen, looking and listening, who wants to listen to our personal voice.
We're trying to find the friend we haven't met yet, that we want to invite to the. Well, if you can get into the pub, I don't know if the pubs are ever going to. They're open, but we don't know. In Ireland, they're going. Will the crack be there? It'll be open, but will it be the same? But let's just pretend that you're going somewhere to have a drink, be it alcohol or be it coffee, with this friend you haven't met yet. And it's not that as a customer, it's more. It's that first audience of, will they put up with you? Will they listen to the shite that's going to come out of your mouth? Or are they going to be a friend after the end of the conversation because it's just someone you haven't met yet? They're going to form an opinion, they're going to like or dislike, they're going to like what you're talking about, or they're not. And what we're saying is, we found a pub, we've got a table, there's 2 seats, or 3 seats if I let George come along, and we're going to sit down as an unknown person in the room. And that person's going to be in the conversation. Or he might not be able to say, well, he can. He has a voice, or she has, or LGBTQ, or anything else in the middle, in the sense of they may not be in the physical room to have the voice, but they can put a soundbite in, they can put a comment, a like, a share. There's a platform there for voice. They're just not in the physical room, but that's okay. We'd like them to be in the room with us, and as if they were there, and have that potential of having their voice and opinion in this conversation.
I think this is quite crucial, because one of the things that we're starting to learn through doing this, because I know, Garvin, you'd mentioned in one of the other episodes that you'd read 5 books and you didn't realise how much you'd taken on board.
In my whole life, I've read 5 books.
No, just before that episode, you'd read 5 books, and you suddenly found that you were processing that information through the conversation we were having. And you were surprised to how much you'd actually taken on board, and how you weren't just accepting it. You were critically analysing it and weighing up one bit to another bit and giving your thoughts on what you felt was important and what wasn't important. And I think that's a very important aspect of the process of growth that we're going through, because that's actually encouraging us to do more reading, do more studying, and look at what is out there that we didn't realize. And because we're now not having expectations of what we think we should be doing, we're now opening our mind up to all kinds of possibilities of what we could be doing, and we're listening, and we're taking on board other things that are coming to us. And that I think is good and healthy, because that'll help to shape our voices. But also, we'll start to come across people that we didn't think we were connected to, and we'll become more interested in their avenues, and they will open up a richness of the world that we hadn't even anticipated.
So we're happy. We're in the field. Actually, there's a mad thing. We are in the field of dreams, the film you were talking about. We have actually adopted the little girl's policy and process of build it and they will come. Because if you don't build it, there's nowhere to go to. If you wait to get the customer or the audience, you may never find it. It may never happen. That time will be gone. So we are literally have adopted for our go-to methodology in the short term, given the madness is out there, to go, we're going to build it and they may come. They have a chance to come, possible, but we're building it regardless. We're going to build that monument to ourselves, that platform with our voices now out there till the data centers are sort of destruct. But we're on the platform. We're on YouTube. We're on podcast space. We're seeping into LinkedIn and Facebook. We haven't a bog what we're doing for half of it. But that's the weird thing. We're going at the moment. We're not too sure what we're doing with that space and the effect it's having. But we know we're doing something. And we know we're doing these trial and errors and A's and B's, and we're going to go, that didn't seem to work, we got 2 subscribers, we need to do something else. Or is it a case of what was interesting there last week is I saw something on LinkedIn and it says an awful lot of people start podcasts and they get to number 7 and they just stop because they didn't get that external affirmation of the immediate viral something, or someone's going to pay them or bought it or the audience is there. They just ran out of steam because they were not being paid to do a podcast. They were creating it in the absence of a demand. No, we feel it's out there, but it was the fact that the audience isn't matched at the beginning to the podcast. Everyone has to find each other. So that one win that was in that statement to me was, we've 22 in the can, and we have number 4 is about to publish in real life, and they're saying number 7 is where the fall away is. So if all we do is publish the 24 we're now on, I mean this is 24, which we're really calling 2 series of 12, we are already 3 times further in than most ones that fail and fall back. So that's a great affirmation to us. If all we do is listen to ourselves, we've done a bit, we have this big achievement to ourselves that we're on the platform, we've produced the work. Maybe no one wants to listen. That's another day's story. We'd love to meet those people and to hear from them as to why they wouldn't want to listen. So please subscribe.
I think the other thing that's quite important is that we're starting to get into a flow of work. We're beginning to understand what it is we're trying to achieve with these half-hour-ish type programs. We're working out how the processes fit into our week, so that we don't overload ourselves, because we've got to make sure that we remain healthy and happy, and that our families around us remain healthy and happy, and that they're supporting us in what we're trying to do. And they're supporting us in what we're doing. But that means that because we're starting to get those structures in place, we're now starting to work out what is the pace that we need to deliver to keep that consistency going on. What do we need to study, to research? What technology do we need in place? And not only that, everything out there seems to be very, very overwhelming, and we can actually feel overwhelmed. We can feel drowned by the things that we're meant to do. But we're now beginning to see quite an easy process, a task at a time, that will allow us to accomplish all the things we want to. And once we become proficient with that particular task and we know how to do it and repeat it time and time again, then we won't need to think about it, and we can then deal with the next task and gradually build ourselves up. And in 5 or 6 years' time, God willing, we will have quite a big audience.
Actually, the great thing about, if we generalize all that back down to, we were talking just before this show about, who potentially is our audience, and we're not trying to say a person or a profile. We're trying to say our audience in our own language was ourselves. And when we're saying ourselves, we're saying people like us that are potentially stuck, not necessarily stuck in ruts, but they're with the pandemic, an awful lot of people, let's say in the film production area, are suddenly finding themselves out of work, without a job. They're depending on bigger employers to employ their skill sets, and they're suddenly going, right, I'm sitting here in a room, I've nothing to do because someone else hasn't employed me. But I could be doing something, but I don't know if I should be. And everyone's an awful lot of people were just stuck. And then other people actually, the mad thing is, everyone thinks the grass is always greenest on the other side, and you look over the fence and they're better than me, and oh, look at them with all their likes and their this, and they don't know what they're doing. It might have been they got an accidental viral something and it stuck, and then they were kicked into overdrive, and then there's another, for everyone that happens to, there's 999,000 that it didn't, and they're all going, why me? And what, is it my fault, or did I not do something? And they did the exact same thing. So it's what's very weird is you see all these videos go, this is how you can get your 10,000 likes and your 3,000 subscribers and follow process 1, 2, 3, and look at me, I have all these followers, and they're the only one with it. And what they're doing is we're all going to that mentor, master, guru and apply exactly what they says on a 1, 2, 3 basis, and nothing happens. And we're getting disenfranchised and disempowered and more disempowered and less affirmation because we did what we thought was required and it didn't work. And now we're back to worse than where we were before because there's no one seemingly. We're on our own. No one's helping us, and we don't know what to. It's more what we don't know what to do. Is we're very confident to do what we know and what we're the expert in. But the problem is we don't get that delivered because you're not. It's the other stuff is what we're lacking and not doing.
Now, one of the videos that I edited in 1992. So we're talking about. 1992, we're talking about 28 years ago. I edited a film.
It's not feudal times by any chance.
No, it's not feudal times, no. Well, actually, it's called All I've Ever Known. And it's about a lady called Margaret Gallagher who had no electricity. She lived in a small cottage. She had to walk half a mile to get water. And it was a BBC co-production, and the producer decided about 5 years ago to put it up onto YouTube, along with a number of other projects he'd made. I think the audience at the time it was first broadcast in 1992 was about 28,000. It was made in Northern Ireland, and all of a sudden, about 2 years ago, after it'd been there for about 3 years, the numbers started to go up. And I got a phone call from the producers and they're saying, George, have you been promoting this little film? Have you been doing it? I said, no, I may have mentioned it to a couple of people. He says, well, it's skyrocketing. It's up to 200,000. And we started to watch it over the next few months and it went to 400,000. Then it hit 1 million. I think at the moment it's somewhere close to 4 million views. And he's saying, I didn't do anything. None of his other videos have actually taken off like that. But that was a massive, great big launch. And there was no way of telling why or how that audience was going to take off.
The weird thing is we know what's going on in this side of the planet. What was happening, because we had a little chat about this before, is it's all about off-grid. And what you have was the doom. I think it's probably everything from Nostradamus to the Apocalypse Now to the off-gridders. This little old lady in back of beyond, is it Ireland or England, was an off-gridder. And she was then the guru for these people, how to live off the land with barely electricity and light and God knows what. And so she was now the leader in it because she's been doing it for 20 years. And this bunch are just thinking about doing it next Tuesday and stocking up on tire rolls. So it probably, now it could have been a bit of that it became suddenly popular on the basis of popular culture. And it's interesting to see. So strange enough, we can say we can produce all this work and 25 years from now suddenly we're popular because of something we don't know yet, or some influencer accidentally found us and said this is the thing to do.
And there's been musicians who were told all the way through their maybe 30-year long career that basically that they weren't popular, they weren't commercial, and again, so long down the track, all of a sudden their work becomes commercial, it starts to make millions, and they just carried on doing exactly what they've always done, and it suddenly paid off. And I think if you're enthusiastic about what you're doing and you have a passion for it, then don't listen to anybody else. Just do it, because
it's
at
mad.
some point it's going to take off.
The words coming out of your mouth were coming straight into my mind from the universe there, saying, because I was just about, if you hadn't just said what you said, I would have said it. I would have said, you have to be passionate about your art. If you're passionate, it's the Picasso's, if you're passionate about your art, you might tweak it a little bit commercialism wise, but you're still producing. You're saying, I'm not going to lose this minute of my life, it's going to be on my art. They were able to package it for future consumption based on it being a painting or a drawing or whatever. In the absence of us capturing these conversations, these hours are gone forever, yet this half an hour is captured for posterity. It could be shut off into space for alien consumption at a later date, we just don't know. But had you not captured it, it is gone. It will never materialize in any order ever again. So we're excited on a Friday afternoon in the end of June in 2020, we can have a reflection about this last half year on the journey that we're on as a couple of middle-aged men going, we're passionate about our art, or, well, I'm adopting this art now, and George has always been passionate about it, and we're realizing we don't need affirmation from others, we don't need permission from others. The tech is there, we can be the content until there's better content. We're not going to lose the moment, we're going to package it, and in time we will introduce this third or fourth party dynamic of conversation. That's coming down the line. It's already bumbling in because people want to get involved. In time, that'll be there. And that's the weird thing about this even show is we're broadcasting on 4. We're talking now at 24, which is 3 months down the line. And by the time we get there, we'll already be doing what we're talking about. And regardless, we're going to produce and put it out there. And we won't worry whether the audience is ready or there or yet to consume. And this is the affirmation we're saying to ourselves and to others. It's be passionate about your art. You're not dead man walking. If you want to treat yourself like dead man walking, you will be that. If you want to just live this moment, you can bring it to the next and maybe double up and triple up by keep on doing what it is you like and love.
And the gatekeepers of script writing, who they've appeared on a channel called Film Courage. They've actually said, look, they're getting fed up with people that come up with formula ideas and constantly use the formula to try and generate their ideas. What they're saying is they're looking for something new. They want those people that have a passion of telling stories in their own unique way to actually have a gamble and tell their stories the way they would like to, because it is getting quite sophisticated in the way the audience are starting to read films, watch films, read books, and the whole lot. That if you don't come up with your own ideas and actually believe in yourself, then it's just going to be a bland, content is going to be just as bland as anything.
Well, again, you're back to this. We're talking content for so content of life. We're just saying it just happens that we're going to try to put content into media to put it out there because that's the industry. We want to have these little stories. This is a story of us. At the moment, it's not a story of life. It's a story of us trying to find meaning in a journey and purpose. And we're in our journey so far, we've found the values that we're finding are more the other bits that we were sort of maybe not ignoring, but not as much aware of, which is the mindfulness, the family, I have young children, I've got my family and friends, and the pandemic is the best thing that ever happened to me in the short term under certain reasons, because it stopped me looking at business and made me turn around and look at family and friends and purpose and meaning. And because if you drop, everyone around us is dying in the sense of they have cancers of this, they flus of that, they're of a certain age profile. We even talked, one of our shows was about the end of the world is coming, and if we were to worry about all these potential fatalities and things, we'd just be stuck in a room afraid to take the cover off of our heads and pick any one of them, and we'd be afraid. So we're saying we're not going to be afraid anymore. We're going to listen to the universe and just do. We're going to enjoy them now. And we're saying we're not going to say to people that it's okay to be afraid is what we're saying, because everyone is. Everyone might just be hiding it better than everyone else, because if they're not afraid of the apocalypse, there's something wrong with them. If they're not afraid of getting knocked down by a bus or getting cancer, there's something wrong with them. But it's not that they're not afraid of that. It's not in their focus now because it's not affecting them. So therefore, as long as it doesn't affect them, they don't need to worry about it and then get on with living. And so we're going to go, as long as it's not affecting us, we're going to get on with living under the business and under the family and friend heading and just
unfortunately, this particular point in time, it's okay. The internet has slowed down and we've lost connection, but I'm going to carry on anyway.
Are you there, George?
One of the things that I've been reading is Jung, who was basically talking about how if you find your passion and discover what it is about yourself that you need to do, you create some kind of purpose for yourself. Quite often we get led off into unknown avenues that don't allow us to be who we should be. And that's what we are trying to do. We're trying to be the person that we should be on this journey and discovering what it is that we can do that will help others. And I think that becomes a very, very important part of the process that we're going through in creating these types of shows.
It is. It's a very weird life. And I don't know what I'm doing. under 9 out of 10 of the headings. I know I need help with an awful lot of other people. It's good to have George, and he can help in the production side, but outside of the production side, do I stop if one thing stops? There we go. He might be back in. So I don't know what he's going to do with this. I kept on going. I kept on talking. So you're going to have to cut out some of this.
Yeah, no, I carried doing exactly the same as you did. I've actually added a extra piece as well. So I'll allow your section to finish, and then I'll continue talking. So what we were gradually discussing was how important it is that each person finds what it is their purpose of life is all about. And quite often we get sidetracked into areas that aren't really what we want to be doing. But then we have to go back to this other concept that if we have expectations of our life that we think we should be doing, we can actually stop down and close off avenues that could have been really rich for us to actually go down. So if we can actually calm ourselves and maybe use the mindfulness approaches to basically stop the chitter chatter box inside our heads and allow the universe to start to talk to us, we can maybe be led on a journey that may be far more fascinating than the one we thought we were going on.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because what's popped into my head there is why am I doing this? George can figure out why he's doing this in a minute, but what was happening to me is I realized there's something missing. I don't know what it is. It's not this thing. I'm not happy. Geez, I'm very, in terms of what I have and where I am in my life and family, and I'm not divorced. My kids are healthy. I have a house. I'm not starving. I have a lot to be happy for and content with, and all. And I have all that. And I'm not looking for millions and money. No, there's something missing. There's some bit of me that's not fulfilled. And that's what this journey was about. And it's even this conversation to me, myself and I, in the middle of a little, a camera in front of me, is actually meeting that need. And I don't even know what that is. So, and I don't need affirmation from someone else. It'd be nice. It'd be nice if a couple of people liked that I got on with, or understood that if you feel there's just a hole and something missing, then you've got to walk out that door and you've got to start experimenting and exploring. And it might just be fishing, I don't know, but there's something else. It might be the last piece of the jigsaw, and and it might be the biggest piece of the jigsaw and the most important bit to finish off. This is you, this is me, this is hear me roar, and that's what this is in my part. Definitely, I think George is something similar. He might have something to say about it.
Yeah, no, I believe the same thing, because I know that I went off on a number of different journeys. I wanted to be a filmmaker. I got into editing. That area sort of slowed down, and I wanted to carry on making video productions, and I found myself getting into teaching. But then I found that the students taught me more than I realized, and I began to discover things about filmmaking that I hadn't done. So there was the university opened a door for me. I actually went through it, and it gave me opportunities I never thought I'd have. To be honest, if I hadn't gone through those doors, I would possibly not have got to where I am now, where we're having this conversation with Garvin. And I think that becomes really important, because if you face the fears and you take courage and go and find out what is beyond that veil that you can't see, take that first step. Sometimes the universe is actually saying to you, well, there's a lot of possibilities, but you need to make the first step, and then we'll see where you go from there. And that's the exciting part. And that's the thing you don't need to worry about. And if you can do that, you'll have a contented life.
Yeah, and you too can have a conversation with Garvin.
Absolutely. And I think, well, actually, that's the important thing, because we are here. We are interested in what other people have to say. And we want to have those conversations with you, so that you can
just have them with yourself. Look in the mirror. I do it every day of the week. The only person that puts up with me is who's looking back in the mirror, and even he won't put up with half of it. So I think we're coming to a nice end there, and hope you come to Series 3 and episode 25. Look forward to chatting with you.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and click on the bell for notifications.